I'm standing in my kitchen this morning looking at court papers that changed everything. My own parents sued me for 70% of my home's value, $154,000, claiming I stole my sister's future by buying a house instead of paying for her college. My name is Amanda. I'm 31 years old, and this is the story of how working since I was 16, paying for my own education, and buying my first home alone led to the most devastating family betrayal imaginable. If you're watching this, please drop a comment letting me know where you're from, hit that like button, and subscribe, as I share how my greatest achievement became my deepest heartbreak. But before we dive in, let me tell you, this story has a twist that'll make you question everything you think you know about family loyalty. So stick around because what happened in that courtroom will shock you. I grew up in what looked like a typical middle-class family in a modest suburb of Minneapolis. My father, John, worked as an insurance adjuster. My mother, Karen, was a part-time dental receptionist. Then there was me and my sister, Emma, 6 years younger. From the outside, we probably looked normal. But behind closed doors, money was always a source of tension. Bills piled up on the kitchen counter, and hushed conversations about finances would stop whenever I entered the room. What hurt most was the obvious difference in how my parents treated Emma and me. From early on, they decided Emma was special, the child with real potential. They'd say things like, "Emma has natural talent," or "Emma could really be somebody someday." The message about me was clear, though never directly stated I was ordinary, average, nothing exceptional to invest in. By age 14, I had internalized this completely. I was the practical one, the responsible one. I started helping our elderly neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, with household chores after school. She paid me $10 an hour to vacuum, dust, and organize her medication. This became my first taste of financial independence. I used that money for school supplies, clothes, and occasional treats with friends. My parents never asked where these items came from. They just seemed relieved not to provide them. When I turned 16, I got my first real job at Sweet Dreams Bakery, 6 blocks from our house. I'd walk there immediately after schoolwork until closing at 7:30, then head home to start homework. The owner, Diane, became a mentor, teaching me not just about baking, but about customer service, inventory management, and saving money. The day I received my first paycheck should have been exciting. Instead, my father sat me down at the kitchen table with a calculator. "Now that you're earning money, you need to contribute to the household," he said. 30% of your earnings should come to us for rent, food, and utilities." I stared at him in disbelief. "But Dad, I'm only 16. I thought I should be saving for college." My mother laughed from the doorway. "Amanda, be realistic. With your grades, you'd be better off learning a trade. Besides, Emma will need a college fund. She has a real future ahead of her." That 30% rule remained in place throughout high school. I never missed a payment, even as I watched Emma receive gift after gift. Piano lessons at $200 a month, ballet classes 3 times a week. Her room got redecorated with beautiful furniture while I still had the same twin bed from childhood. My routine became grueling: school from 8 to 3, work from 1:30 to 7:30, homework until midnight. Weekends meant double shifts. Summer breaks were spent working full-time instead of enjoying teenage freedom. The rare times I bought something new for myself were met with judgment. "Another new shirt, Amanda, me," my mother would say. "You should be more responsible with your money." This from the woman who'd just spent $300 on a special ballet costume for Emma. Junior year, I picked up a second job on weekends at the local library. I told my parents it was for extra spending money, but I was secretly building a college fund. The library paid less but offered something valuable: quiet hours to study during slow periods. My grades began improving significantly. Mrs. Peterson noticed my exhaustion one day. "Amanda, dear, you're working yourself to the bone. What are you saving for that requires so much sacrifice?" When I explained my situation, tears welled in her eyes. "Your parents should be supporting your dreams, not the other way around." She began paying me extra, insisting I put it directly into my college fund. By senior year, despite my work schedule, I maintained a 3.8 GPA and saved nearly $8,000. My guidance counselor helped me apply for scholarships, believing in me when my own family didn't. When acceptance letters started arriving, my parents seemed more annoyed than proud. "College is expensive," my father warned. "Don't come crying to us when you can't afford it." I assured them I wouldn't. After all, I never had before. When I received my acceptance to State University with a partial academic scholarship, I felt pride mixed with terror. The scholarship covered 60% of tuition, but that left 40 plus room and board. My $8,000 would barely cover first-year expenses. My parents' reaction was lukewarm at best. State University. That's expensive for what it is, my father commented, barely looking up from his plate. You know we can't help you. I'm not asking for help, I replied. I have my scholarship and savings. I'll figure out the rest. My mother sighed dramatically. I don't understand why you need to go at all. You have a perfectly good job at the bakery. Because I want more than that, Mom. I want a career, not just a job. And what about your contribution to this household? My father demanded. How are we supposed to make up that shortfall? That's when I realized they'd been counting on my income to supplement their budget for Emma's activities. I wasn't a daughter being guided toward independence. I was an income source. I'm sorry, but I'm going to college, I said firmly. I've worked for this opportunity and I'm taking it. Move-in day was a solo experience. My parents claimed they couldn't take time off work, so I packed what I could and took the bus to campus. My roommate Jennifer arrived with her entire family, setting up coordinated bedding and family photos while I unpacked secondhand sheets in silence. The financial reality hit hard. Even with my scholarship, costs were overwhelming. I found a server job within my first week, 5 to 11 p.m. on weeknights, double shifts on weekends. My tiny dorm room became both sanctuary and prison, with my desk lamp burning until 3 or 4 a.m. as I struggled with assignments after exhausting shifts. Cup noodles became my primary food source, not for the college cliché, but because they cost less than $1 per meal. I tracked every penny in a meticulous budget spreadsheet. Despite the challenges, I excelled academically. My finance and business classes felt relevant after years of managing my own limited budget. Professors began noticing my work ethic, and one recommended me for a summer internship at Meridian Financial Services after junior year. The internship was a turning point. For the first time, I worked in a professional environment where my contributions were valued. My supervisor, Michael, seemed impressed by my determination and practical knowledge. Throughout college, communication with my parents was minimal and always centered around money. Phone calls usually began casually before turning to requests. Emma needs new point shoes, $200. The refrigerator broke, we need $400 for repairs. Emma got accepted to special summer music camp. It's $2,000. I sent money when I could, but each request left me feeling used rather than loved. Senior year, I met Tyler in advanced finance seminar. When he invited me home for Thanksgiving, I witnessed what a supportive family looked like for the first time. His parents asked about my classes, my goals, my opinions. They seemed genuinely interested in me as a person, not a resource. Why are you crying? Tyler asked when he found me alone in the guest room. Because I didn't know families could be like yours, I admitted. I didn't know parents could love their children without conditions. I graduated with a 3.7 GPA, earning cum laude honors. No one from my family attended the ceremony. They claimed they couldn't afford the 3-hour drive despite Emma, now 16, wanting to come. Michael offered me a full-time position at Meridian Financial Services upon graduation. The starting salary of $50,000 felt astronomical after years of minimum wage jobs. While most colleagues chose trendy apartments spending 30 to 40% of income on housing, I opted for a tiny studio in an older building 45 minutes from work by public transport. Rent consumed only 20% of my take-home pay. I created a detailed 5-year plan. Year 1 would focus on building an emergency fund and beginning student loan repayment. Years 2 through 4 would accelerate loan repayment while building a down payment fund. Year 5 would be devoted to house hunting. My lifestyle remained frugal despite my professional salary. I lived with 2 roommates in a modest apartment, brought lunch every day, shopped at discount stores, used public transportation. Colleagues invited me to happy hours and weekend trips. I declined, knowing each $60 dinner or $300 getaway would delay my goals. At work, my dedication didn't go unnoticed. Within 18 months, I received my first promotion to financial analyst with a salary increase to $62,000. Rather than expanding my lifestyle, I directed the additional income toward student loans. By my 3rd year at Meridian, I had paid off my $40,000 in student loans and built a $12,000 emergency fund. By year 5, with promotions bringing my salary to $85,000, I had saved $50,000 for a house down payment. The accomplishment felt monumental, yet I had no one who truly understood its significance. The pattern with my family continued. Rare communication except for financial requests. Emma's piano teacher thinks she could get into Juilliard, my mother announced during one call. Of course, the application and audition preparation will be expensive. As Emma entered her senior year of high school, the pressure for college funding intensified. My parents had done no financial planning, expecting scholarships to cover costs for their talented daughter. When reality hit that even talented students need backup plans and family contributions, they turned to their reliable source, me. Mom, I have my own financial goals, I said carefully. I can't be Emma's college fund. The silence was frigid. I see your sister's future means nothing to you now that you have your fancy job and city apartment. By my 7th year at Meridian now as senior financial analyst earning $85,000, I had saved enough for a 20% down payment. My years of sacrifice were about to pay off in the form of stability I'd craved since childhood. House hunting was both exciting and terrifying. I had specific criteria: small but well-maintained, safe neighborhood, good transportation access under $250,000. After 3 months, we found a 1920s bungalow for $220,000. Signing the mortgage papers was surreal. The loan officer remarked it was unusual to see someone my age with such solid financial foundation. Most people your age have minimal credit history and mountains of student debt. I paid off my student loans 3 years ago, I replied, unable to keep pride from my voice. The day I received the keys, I stood alone in the empty living room, overcome with emotion. This house represented not just financial investment, but psychological proof that I had overcome my upbringing. Despite our strained relationship, I decided to invite my family to see the house. Perhaps naively, I thought seeing my success would make them proud. They arrived on Saturday afternoon, my father critically eyeing the exterior. "It's small," was his first comment upon entering. "Perfect size for me," I replied, trying to maintain positivity. My mother walked through with faint distaste. "This neighborhood isn't very upscale, is it?" Emma, now in her 2nd year of college, seemed genuinely happy. "I think it's awesome, Amanda. You worked so hard up for this." As we sat at my new dining table, my mother cleared her throat. "Emma has some news she needs to share." Emma looked uncomfortable. "I might have to take a break from school next semester. My scholarship wasn't renewed, and my student loan application was denied because of Dad's credit score." "We've had some financial setbacks," my father said defensively. "Medical bills, car repairs." "So what's the plan?" I asked, already sensing where this was heading. "Well," my mother began, "given your new purchase, you must be in a very comfortable financial position. Surely you have savings left, or you could take out a home equity loan. Emma needs about $20,000. I stared in disbelief. "I used all my savings for the down payment. I'm not borrowing against my house that I just bought." "So you're just going to let your sister drop out?" my mother asked, voice rising. "After all we've done for you." "What exactly have you done for me? I've been working and supporting myself since I was 16. I paid for my own education. I bought this house entirely on my own." "We raised you," my father said indignantly. "We put a roof over your head. A roof I paid rent for as a teenager." The argument escalated. My parents accused me of being selfish, of forgetting where I came from, of abandoning family. I pointed out years of financial support I'd already provided and the unfairness of expecting me to mortgage my future. "You've always been jealous of Emma," my mother declared. "This is your way of punishing her." "This has nothing to do with Emma. This is about boundaries and reasonable expectations." Emma finally spoke up. "Please stop fighting. I'll figure something out." "Absolutely not," my mother snapped. "You're not throwing away your future because your sister is too selfish to help. I can help you look into additional scholarships or work-study programs," I told Emma directly. "There are alternatives." "The only alternative is for you to step up and do the right thing," my father insisted. "Family takes care of family. I've been taking care of this family financially since I was a teenager," I said, patience finally exhausted. "I'm done being your ATM." My father stood abruptly. "If that's how you feel, then perhaps we need to reconsider what family means. This house represents years of sacrifice, but you're choosing not to help when you clearly have resources. This house should be helping secure Emma's future, not sitting here as a monument to your selfishness," my mother declared. As they prepared to leave, my father delivered what would prove prophetic. "This isn't over, Amanda. If you won't do the right thing voluntarily, there are other ways to ensure family obligations are met." I assumed it was an empty threat. I was wrong. 3 weeks later, I received an envelope from county court. Inside was a summons informing me I was being sued by John and Karen Collins, my parents, for unjust enrichment, and demanding $45,000 to fund Emma's remaining education. The legal complaint alleged that I had a moral and financial obligation to support Emma's education based on years of family investment in my upbringing, and that my refusal constituted abandonment of family duties. They claimed my house purchase proved I had hidden assets and was selfishly hoarding resources while my sister's future was at stake. I sat on my living room floor, papers scattered around me, unable to process what I was reading. This couldn't be real. Parents don't sue their children over money. My hands shook as I dialed their number. Dad, I just received court papers. Are you actually suing me? We're seeking what's fair for Emma's education, he replied with eerie calm. You refuse to help voluntarily, so we're pursuing legal means. This is insane. You can't possibly think a court will force me to pay for Emma's college. Our lawyer thinks we have a case. You benefited from family resources growing up. Now it's time to give back to help your sister. Dad, please, this will destroy any relationship we still have. That's your choice, Amanda. Do the right thing, and we can put this behind us. The next morning, I called in sick for the first time in my career and found Linda Cohen, a family law attorney. After reviewing the documents, she looked up with sympathy and professional assessment. I've seen contentious family disputes in 20 years of practice, but this particular case is challenging, she said. The good news is their case has limited legal merit. There's no law requiring adult children to fund siblings' education. However, they've framed it as unjust enrichment, which means they're arguing you've benefited unfairly at the family's expense. So they can't actually force me to pay $45,000. Very unlikely, but we'll need to demonstrate that you've already contributed substantially to the family and that your success is entirely self-made. The burden is on them to prove their claims, but defending yourself will still cost money and emotional energy. The next few weeks were a blur of legal preparations and anxiety. My work performance suffered as I struggled to concentrate. Fortunately, Michael had become a mentor and noticed my distraction. When I explained the situation, his reaction validated what I was beginning to understand. Amanda, what your parents are doing isn't normal. It's exploitative and abusive. Hearing someone in authority name the dynamic so clearly was both painful and liberating. I'd spent years normalizing my family's behavior, making excuses, and accepting blame. Support came from unexpected places. Colleagues offered encouragement and practical help. Neighbors brought meals during stressful preparation days. Even Tyler became a steady presence, helping organize financial records. Jessica suggested I find a therapist. This is trauma, Amanda. You need professional support. I found Dr. Russell, who specialized in family estrangement and financial abuse. Your parents created a narrative where your role was to provide, not be provided for, Dr. Russell explained. Children aren't supposed to be financial assets. That reverses the natural order of nurturing. As the court date approached, I received an unexpected call from Emma. Amanda, I just found out about the lawsuit. I had no idea they were doing this. I never asked them to sue you. Her call reinforced Linda's advice to separate my feelings about Emma from my feelings about my parents. Emma was as much a victim of their dysfunction as I was. The lawsuit consumed my thoughts and invaded my dreams. I had nightmares about becoming homeless, about judges ordering me to hand over my house keys. Linda reassured me repeatedly that such an outcome was extremely unlikely. The law simply doesn't work the way your parents think it does. Parents can't force adult children to pay for siblings' education, no matter how much they believe it's morally right. Still, the mere existence of the lawsuit felt like profound violation. The home that should have represented security had become a source of anxiety and conflict. The county courthouse was imposing, designed to intimidate. I arrived early with Linda dressed in a conservative navy suit, hoping to project confidence I didn't feel. My parents arrived with their attorney, but didn't acknowledge me as they took seats at the plaintiff's table. The physical proximity yet emotional distance created a surreal atmosphere. Judge Harriet Wilson entered, a woman in her 60s with silver hair and an expression suggesting she'd seen everything. After reviewing the case file with a furrowed brow, she began, I've been on the bench for 17 years, and while family financial disputes aren't uncommon, this case has some unique aspects. Mr. and Mrs. Collins, you're seeking $45,000 from your daughter to fund your younger daughter's college education based on claims of unjust enrichment. Is that correct? My parents' lawyer stood. Yes, Your Honor. My clients believe their elder daughter has been unjustly enriched by family resources and should contribute to her sister's education, especially given her recent significant purchase. Unjust enrichment requires proving the defendant received a benefit at the plaintiff's expense without justification. Please explain how this applies here. What followed was tortuous argument about family investment and unfair benefit. The lawyer claimed that by accepting parental support as a child and then becoming successful, I had been unjustly enriched and should return the investment by funding Emma's education. When Linda's turn came, she rose with composed confidence. Your Honor, this case fundamentally misunderstands unjust enrichment. Parents have a legal obligation to support minor children. This isn't an investment expecting returns, it's basic parental duty. Miss Collins received normal parental support, then achieved success through her own efforts. She methodically dismantled each argument presenting documentation of my financial independence, since 16 proof of self-financing my education and bank records showing substantial assistance I'd already provided. Far from taking from the family, Miss Collins has contributed over $15,000 since age 18, money she was under no legal obligation to provide. The judge reviewed documents with interest. Mr. and Mrs. Collins, were you aware of these financial contributions? My father shifted uncomfortably. Those were gifts not related to this matter. $15,000 in gifts seems quite generous from someone you're characterizing as selfish, Judge Wilson observed. As arguments wound down, the courtroom door opened, and Emma slipped in, taking a seat in the back. Our eyes met briefly. I saw embarrassment and determination in her expression. After final statements, Judge Wilson called a 15-minute recess. As we waited, Emma approached our table hesitantly. Can I speak to the judge about the fact that I never asked for any of this and don't want Amanda to pay for my education this way? Linda explained the judge might allow additional testimony and advised Emma to stay close. When Judge Wilson returned, she surprised everyone by calling Emma forward. I understand you're Emma Collins, the younger sister, whose education is at the center of this dispute. Do you wish to make a statement? Emma stood nervously. Yes, Your Honor. I want to make clear I never asked my parents to sue my sister. I didn't know about this lawsuit until recently. I would never want Amanda forced to pay for my education. My mother made a small protest, which the judge silenced with a stern look. Emma continued, gaining confidence. Amanda has always helped our family when she could. When I was younger, I didn't understand why she worked so much, or why my parents treated us differently. But as I've gotten older, I've realized how unfair it was. She's already done more than enough. I can finish my education through community college and part-time work if needed. Judge Wilson thanked Emma and delivered her ruling. Having reviewed all evidence and testimony, I find the plaintiff's claim without merit. There is no legal basis for unjust enrichment here. Miss Collins received normal parental support as a minor, then achieved financial success through her own extraordinary efforts. Parents cannot treat child-rearing as an investment expecting monetary returns. She continued, addressing my parents directly. Mr. and Mrs. Collins, the evidence shows your daughter has already contributed over $15,000 to your family since becoming an adult, far beyond any reasonable expectation. Your different treatment of your daughters is troubling, but it's not grounds for legal remedy. The judge dismissed the case with prejudice, meaning it couldn't be refiled, and ordered my parents to pay my legal fees as the lawsuit was frivolous and brought in bad faith. As the courtroom cleared, I remained seated, overwhelmed by the finality. The legal battle was over, but emotional damage felt irreparable. My parents left without speaking, their rigid backs conveying anger at the outcome. Emma approached tentatively. Amanda, I'm so sorry about all this. It's not your fault, I assured her. Can we talk, maybe get coffee? I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Whatever came next, nothing would ever be the same. The lawsuit had forced confrontation with decades of dysfunction that could no longer be ignored. Walking out of the courthouse, I felt a complex mixture of vindication, grief, and surprisingly hope. For the first time, I had publicly stood up for myself against my parents' expectations. Though the victory felt hollow, it represented a crucial first step toward a healthier future. The days following passed in conflicting emotions. Relief that legal threat was gone, mixed with profound sadness about family relationships. I took a week off work to process what had happened. I didn't hear from my parents, nor did I expect to. The courtroom had made explicit what had been implicit for years. Our relationship was fundamentally broken, built on obligation rather than love. Linda recommended continuing therapy advice I took seriously. Dr. Russell helped me understand that grief for a relationship that never existed is still valid grief. You're mourning the parents you deserved but never had, she explained. That loss is real even if the relationship was unhealthy. 2 weeks after court, Emma and I met for coffee. The conversation was awkward at first, years of family dynamics creating invisible barriers. I moved out of mom and dad's house, she said. I'm staying with my friend Sophia until I figure things out. Are you still in school? She nodded. I reduced my course load and got a job at the campus bookstore. It'll take longer to graduate, but I'll get there. I also applied for additional scholarships like you suggested. I'm proud of you, Emma. Taking control of your own path isn't easy. I had a good example, she replied, meeting my eyes. I always admired how independent you were, even though I didn't understand until recently it wasn't by choice. That conversation marked the beginning of a new relationship between us based on mutual respect rather than competitive dynamic our parents had fostered. As months passed, I slowly rebuilt my life around truth rather than family mythology. My home, now free from legal threat, became a true haven. I painted walls, planted a small garden, gradually furnished rooms with pieces that brought joy. Work provided another source of stability. Michael, understanding the crisis I'd weathered, offered additional responsibilities, leading to another promotion. The increased income allowed me to start a modest investment portfolio. Jessica remained steadfast, celebrating small victories and providing perspective during moments of doubt. You know what amazes me most about you, she said during a Saturday helping me install kitchen shelves. Your capacity for joy despite everything. You never became bitter. Her observation surprised me. I hadn't recognized this quality in myself. But she was right. Despite family dysfunction, I hadn't allowed it to define my entire worldview. Inspired by my journey, I started a blog about financial independence for young adults from difficult family backgrounds. The response was overwhelming, with hundreds sharing similar experiences. What began as personal outlet evolved into online support community. Through this platform, I connected with others who understood particular challenges of building stability without family support. We discussed practical matters like building credit and emergency funds, but also emotional issues like setting boundaries and managing guilt. 6 months after court, I received a handwritten letter from my mother. The envelope sat unopened for 3 days before I found courage to read it. Amanda, it began. The past months have given me time to reflect on our relationship and my role as your mother. While I still believe families should support each other, I recognize we placed unfair burdens on you from a young age. The letter continued with awkward but seemingly genuine attempted apology, stopping short of full responsibility but acknowledging mistakes had been made. She requested a meeting to begin healing our family. After discussing with Dr. Russell, I agreed to meet at a cafe near my office, public place where I could leave if necessary. The meeting was tense, with long silences and careful word choices. Your father still believes we were right, she admitted. But I miss having you in my life. I can't return to the old dynamic, I told her firmly. Any relationship moving forward has to be based on mutual respect, not obligation. She nodded slowly. I'm not sure what that looks like, but I'd like to try. This tentative reconnection was neither fairy tale reconciliation nor complete failure. Over subsequent months, my mother and I established careful, limited relationship. We met occasionally for coffee conversations focused on neutral topics. My father remained distant, unwilling, or unable to acknowledge damage done, though he stopped actively hostile behavior. A year after buying my house, I hosted a small anniversary gathering. Emma attended, bringing her new boyfriend and homemade cake. Jessica and Tyler came along with colleagues who'd supported me during the lawsuit. My mother declined the invitation with polite note, perhaps understanding that full family reconciliation, if it ever came, was still far in the future. Looking around at people who had chosen to be in my life, who valued me for who I was, rather than what I could provide, I recognized profound shift in my understanding of family. Family wasn't merely biological connection or obligation, but community built on mutual support and genuine care. The house that had become point of contention was now unquestionably mine, not just legally, but emotionally. Each mortgage payment felt like affirmation. Each home improvement a declaration of my right to create stability. The most valuable lesson was understanding difference between guilt and responsibility. For years, I'd carried guilt about not meeting parents' expectations, about prioritizing my needs, about setting boundaries. Therapy and experience taught me that responsibility to oneself isn't selfishness, but self-preservation. That boundaries aren't walls, but healthy definitions of where one person ends and another begins. I still had moments of doubt and sadness, days when I mourned family relationships I'd never have. But these episodes became less frequent as I built life aligned with my values rather than imposed expectations. As I stand in my kitchen today preparing for another day in the home I fought to protect, I realize true freedom comes not from external validation, but from internal conviction. My parents may never fully understand or accept my choices, but their understanding is no longer necessary for my peace. This house is more than wooden beams and mortgage payments. It represents my right to define my own path, to establish healthy boundaries, and to create security on my own terms. The journey here was longer and harder than it should have been, but that only makes the achievement more meaningful. The lawsuit that was meant to break me ultimately freed me. It forced me to confront toxic patterns, seek professional help, and build genuine support network. It taught me that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Emma and I now have a relationship based on choice rather than obligation. She's thriving in school, working part-time, and building her own independence. She often tells me she's grateful for the example I set even when she didn't understand it at the time. My financial goals continue evolving. I'm on track to pay off my mortgage early, building investment portfolio, and even considering purchasing rental property. More importantly, I'm building wealth of relationships based on mutual respect and genuine care. If you're facing similar family dynamics, know that you're not alone. Setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish. Prioritizing your well-being doesn't make you a bad person. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable dysfunction. What would you do if faced with choice between family expectations and your own well-being? Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with loved ones? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with others who might need to hear that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, but necessary. Thank you for listening. Take care and remember, you deserve relationships that build you up, not tear you down. Good luck.